SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Issue of power and state. I think after this you can read the chapter on state in P. Gisbert's book, and you will be able to understand everything that he says. In any textbook of sociology, you will find lots of names, maybe hundreds of names. Do not bother much about names, just focus on ideas. Except these 4 or 5 important names of sociologists, you need not learn by rote names of all those sociologists, anthropologists, economists who worked in diverse settings. Just focus on ideas. Now, in this lecture, I will do 3 things. 1, discuss perspectives on power. This is something not given in Gisbert's book. So, you may not find any discussion of perspectives on power. For this, you have to be attentive in the class or read some other books. Second thing I will do is just indicate, not go into details, but indicate the types of state. And third, make a distinction between related terms like society, or sometimes called civil society, nation, and ethnicity. In the last lecture, I made a distinction between legitimate and illegitimate power. I said that power exercised by state is considered to be legitimate by most people. Power exercised by others, often in opposition to state, is considered to be illegitimate, which means that truly speaking or scientifically speaking, or speaking from nowhere or no perspective, there is no legitimacy or illegitimacy. Power is legitimate or illegitimate because it is considered to be so. It's not legitimacy or illegitimacy, is social. It does not come from God's perspective or from outsiders' perspective. And if there is a conflict in society, conflict between groups, associations, different sets of institutions which are part of a state, these terms may become vacuous. During the British period, the power exercised by the Congress party, sometime there was a part of Congress party called hot faction, Garam Dal. Or there were people like Subhash Chandra Bose, Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, who used power of gun, arms, bomb, firearms, bullets. Now, this power was illegitimate from the perspective of British state. But this power was legitimate from the perspective of freedom fighters, and also from the perspective of many ordinary citizens who believed in the ideology or dreams of the freedom fighters. So the difference between legitimacy and illegitimacy is not scientific or objective or from God's perspective or from others' perspective. It is from the perspective of society. The state will always say that Maoists are wrong, that Naxalites are wrong, that secessionists are wrong. Those who talk of independence of Kashmir are wrong. From a state's perspective, they are wrong. They are illegitimate. Their interests and their use of power is illegitimate. But during the British period and after independence, we call them freedom fighters. We call them Swatanta Sangram ke Senani. And the Britishers call them Vidrohi, or those who worked against the interests of the state. So their power was illegitimate from that perspective. So it's all from perspectives, from which perspective you are looking at. The power of state of West Bengal in the forests of West Bengal that they exercise against the tribal Marxist, Leninists or Naxalites is legitimate. From the perspective of the villagers or tribals or Naxalites, it is illegitimate. So it depends on the perspective. There is nothing, we independently, if we are not part of that society, then independently we cannot say what is legitimate, what is illegitimate. It all depends on the social positions. So we will talk about perspectives on power. But because this is a simpler matter, let me begin from here. Society is society, and society plus something becomes state. That something is monopoly of violence or distribution of power, political power. So when you talk of civil society, you talk of people outside the state system. This word civil society you must have heard more frequently in the context of the movement, anti-corruption movement by Anna Hazare or Swami Ramdev. The power of Anna Hazare and his group, Anna's power and the power of his group, the power of Ramdev, Patanjali Yoga Ashram and supporters of them, that is the power of civil society. If teachers, intellectuals, journalists, editors or ordinary people or media persons oppose government policy, then we say that there is a conflict between civil society and state. Long back, there is a long tradition in sociology, political science to distinguish between state, which has monopoly over power, and the rest of society. That rest of society is civil society. NGOs, non-government organizations, action groups, religion is part of civil society. So sometimes religious people, saints, religious leaders of one religion or several religions may come together to oppose some state policy. That is civil society versus state. The term nation is a different term. State and nation are not same. The term nation is used for a group of people with common history and a common vision of the future. Yeah. We feeling, we belong to a group. People with a common history, that we have a common history and we have a common vision of the future. That is called nation. When I was not exposed to sociology literature, and I used to read mostly in magazines and literature prepared by Communist Party Marxists. At one time I followed the literature of Communist Party Marxists thoroughly. I used to wonder, why do communists say that in India there are so many nations? Because in my childhood, I identified nation with the state. I thought that we all belong to the same nation, and that is India. So when first time while reading some magazines like Swadhinta was one magazine published by Communist Party Marxists, I used to read that India is a country of several nations. I was confused. What is this? I thought sometime I would even develop a feeling that communists are anti-national, because for me there was only one nation, India, and all of us are part of Indian nation. But the meaning, when I understood this, and more after becoming a sociologist, I learned that in any territory, state means sovereignty, monopoly, and a territory. Within a territory in which there is one state, there may be several groups on the basis of language, culture, religion, or any other basis. There is a we feeling among them. In our country, clans, subclans, gotras, castes, communities. Indians are divided along so many lines. Dravidians, North Indians, Aryans, non-Aryans, indigenous population. Now, to use the term nation in sociological sense, we can use this term for all these groups. So, Dravidians are a nation. Hindi-speaking people constitute another nation. Hindus may think that they are one nation. The philosophy of Hindutva given by Golwalkar ji, Veer Savarkar, RSS tradition, Mukherjee. There is a feeling that Hindus are different from others, and this state must be based on the principle of Hindu Rashtra. They are one nation. Now, Muslims may think that Muslims have nothing in common with Hindus. That was the cause of separation or partition of the country into two parts. Because Muslims have nothing in common with Hindus. Their philosophy, their cosmology, their ethics, their laws or jurisprudence, their history, their future, their vision of the future, their destiny are different from those of Hindus. Likewise, Christians may think so. At one time, Jews all over the world they still believe in a common history and a common future till the Israel was formed, and Jews believed in a common history and a common future. They are a nation. So in India, there is one state in India which comprises of armed forces, judiciary, bureaucracy, civil servants, and elected representatives. That is Indian state. But within Indian state or in the Indian territory, there are so many nations. And when there are conflicts between these nations, then state has to develop a framework. We have a framework of constitution whenever there is a conflict on Babri Mosque, or conflict on language, or conflict on territory, whether some district should belong to Maharashtra or to Karnataka on the basis of language, or that Bhojpuri is separate language from Hindi, or should Sindhi be given the status of a national language? When such issues arise, the Indian state in the framework of Indian constitution must solve them. These are the conflicts of different nations in India. So the term nation is used for a group of people. Again, I would keep on repeating this issue in each class, that when I say something which looks like a sentence containing verbs like is, are, or continuous tense, actually that only means as understood by society from certain perspective. So when I say that these are nations are people with which have a common history, their have means belief, that they believe that they have a common history and a common future. Beliefs can change, beliefs can be engineered, beliefs can weaken, and beliefs can get strengthened. They are beliefs. If I believe that Hindus are a different nation, this is a belief. This is not a scientific fact. This may not be a scientific fact. If Muslims of India think that they are a different nation, it's not a scientific fact, but they believe, and because they believe, so they are a different nation. If the Dravidians think that they are a different nation, they believe, and therefore they are a different nation. With change of time, with changes in socio-political milieux, with economic changes, changes in world history, these beliefs may also get transformed. There are many beliefs which existed 500 years ago and have no presence today. And similarly, there are beliefs which did not have presence 500 years ago, but they have a strong presence today, so beliefs can change. Accordingly, the definitions of nations can change, but this is a fact that Indian society or Indian polity or Indian state consists of several nations, and Indian state has to resolve therefore conflicts which will often arise between interests of different nations. India has several nations. Now, ethnicity means people belonging to, again belief that they belong to some territory outside the state. Again, the idea of a common past. In United States, you have people who have gone from all parts of the world, and they remember their Asian origin, African origin, whether they are Hispanic, they are European, they are French, they are German. There is a belief that they came from some other part of the world. Now, this sense, people carrying this sense that they have together come from somewhere else. Sri Lankan Tamils, Sri Lankan Buddhists, both of them, most of them have gone from the other part of Asia, most of them from India. These are two ethnic groups, but they believe that they are the original inhabitants of Sri Lanka, but they still maintain a separation. There are two ethnic groups there. You know, Muhajirs in Pakistan. Now, Muhajirs in Pakistan, a very powerful political group. Muhajirs constitute one ethnic category because Muhajirs believe that they had gone to Pakistan from India. Sometime a nation may be divided. Now, there are all kinds of combinations and permutations. Sometimes nations are divided into 2 or more states. Sometimes one state has several nations, like Bengalis. Bengalis constitute one nation, their history, language, food habits, dress, mannerisms. Many things are common. But today, the Bengali nation, Bengali nationality, a Bengali nation is divided into two states, East Bengal, West Bengal, Bangladesh and West Bengal. So there is one nation, and because of this national association, the people of Bangladesh found more affinity with Bengalis of India rather than with Urdu speaking Muslims of today's Pakistan. And that led to separation of Bangladesh from Pakistan. So in Africa, there are so many, by accident of history, in the same country, you have people belonging to different tribes. They are nations, and they often engage in violent conflict. Very violent conflict. Hundreds of people die when such inter-tribal violent clashes occur. And the same tribe is found in different states, in different countries. So nation is this common history, common future. And ethnicity is also a kind of nationality, but in ethnicity, a feeling that they are from somewhere else. An aerial kind of origin is involved. So Sindhis in India today constitute an ethnic group because most of them have come to India after the partition of the country. And they believe that at one time they lived in Sindh, which is part of Pakistan today. They have become an ethnic group here. So there are terms like state, society, civil society, nation, ethnicity. They are used with some minute, some subtle difference in the ideas that they carry. Now, type of state, I am sure that all of you have heard about these types of states. State, in ancient society, there was no state. When you read Gisbert, there is a long discussion of how traditional society or ancient society ran itself. There was no power. Power was collective. The power belonged to the whole clan or sub-clan, whole tribe, whole wandering group, food gathering, hunting group. There was no state as such, stateless society. Then you have city-states, small cities, plus a small population at the periphery sometime, constituting a state. The most known of all the city-states is Athens in Greek literature. This was a city-state. Singapore today, Taiwan is a city-state, Singapore is a city-state. In Singapore, you have Singapore and nothing else, Singapore, and so state of Singapore can be called a city-state. Likewise, Taiwan is also a city, largely a city-state. If Delhi was an independent, today's Union Territory Delhi, if Union Territory of Delhi was an independent state, it would be a city-state. And for people belonging to Kanpur, if they want to go to Delhi, they would require visa. But Delhi is not a city-state because Delhi is part of India, and people belonging to other parts of India do not require visa and passport to enter Delhi. But when we talk of states, some people talk of authoritarian and democratic state. In authoritarian state, you have fascism. For elaborate discussion of these, you must read Gisbert. I am only enumerating them and just saying a few things about them. Nazism, fascism, socialism, communism, communist, fascist state, authoritarian state. In authoritarian states, you have fascist states, Nazis, socialists, communists, anarchists. Syndicalists, several categories of this type. Democracy can be participatory or representative. One thing which is common to fascism and Nazism is the idea of nationalism, sometimes idea of racism, a very strong ideology, use of violence by state, not allowing other associations and social groups to wield power, strong control of media, intellectuals, philosophers, writers. That means absence of freedom of thoughts, expression. This is what it means, a strong leader ideology. Mussolini or Hitler, nationalism, fighting for the interests of Germany, or Aryans, a strong belief that Hitler was fighting in the interest of the Aryan race. And intellectuals, universities, media, journalists, social groups, voluntary groups, religion even, had absolutely no say in running of state. They could not ever think of opposing the state policies. They are silenced. All other groups, associations in society are silenced. Fascist. Communist parties in India often use the term fascist for BJP, RSS, BJP, that they are fascists. And they are fascist, at least in one sense, that they believe in the strong ideology of Hindutva, nationalism, some kind of patriotism. They will not give freedom to express any other thought which goes against the basic philosophy of Hindutva. They will suppress the democratic rights of dissenters like Kashmir, Northeast, wherever people go against the state, they will say that these people are going against the interests of Hindutva, a strong Hindu Rashtra. Limited freedom to minorities. Yeah. But please do not misunderstand me. From time to time, I may be making some statements which can be provocative if they are made in public, outside IIT. My purpose is only to illustrate. I am not saying, A.K. Sharma is not saying that BJP is fascist. I am saying that when communist parties say that BJP is fascist, then they use the term fascism in this sense. Okay. Nationalism, ideology, lack of freedom of thought and expression. Socialism is that state which promotes the interests of the working classes or proletariats. And communists are those who work according to Communist Manifesto, original Communist Manifesto of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Communists are those who work in the common interests of the proletariat of the world. Those parties, those groups which work in the common interests of all the proletariats, the working classes of the world, not of Russia alone, not of India alone. They are the communists. They are trying to first form a socialist government which will work in the interest of the proletariats and gradually create condition for destroying the state itself, for destroying itself, and creating a condition of development of a state-less society in which there will be no government, no power, all will be equally powerful, all will contribute to society according to their ability and take from society according to their needs. No government, no regime, no everything equal, no class, no government. Anarchists believe in individual, moral, spiritual freedom, and syndicalists, another term you will find in Gisbert, stands for a state of the representatives of the workers of industry, industry-wise, labor unions, trade unions type. If the workers' parties or workers' groups have say in deciding the policies of the industry, then you have this kind of syndicalists. You know, among the two greatest political leaders of India, Jawaharlal Nehru was Democrat. Gandhi was anarchist. Gandhi believed in soul force. Gandhi would say, if you do not like something decided by state, don't follow it. For Gandhi, moral force or spiritual force was more important than anything else. If you have to suffer, the condition of creation of anarchist state or anarchist situation would be that if you listen to your own inner voice and you act in accordance with your inner voice, use a moral, spiritual force, love, equality, that whole humanity is equal, all are like you, non-exploitative, non-violent society. You have to, for anarchist society, you have to have Gram Swaraj, and gradually the power will evolve from Gram to nation or the country or the state, Indian nation, not go down from Indian nation to Gram. That is anarchy. Nehru was Democrat. So when I read something from discussion on Constitution of India last time and said that Nehru had envisioned a state in which everybody will be equal before the law, there will be freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom to follow any religion, there will be equality of, this is what democracy means. Democracy means the rule of law, and the law is developed by the people of the country, people belonging to that state. When people belonging to a state have a rule based on law which has been evolved by the people themselves, then you have a democracy. Now, democracy can be participatory or democracy can be representative. In city-states, and there is a belief that ancient India is a good example of participatory democracy. The democracy which was practiced by the Shakya people, in the area in Bihar, Nepal, this Lichavis. There is a belief that based on literature, Buddhist literature, Pali, Prakrit, some Sanskrit literature, that the democracy that was practiced in Buddha's time in that part of the country was participatory democracy. Everybody was equal and all major decisions were taken through participation of people. Great. But the problem with this participatory democracy, that a modern country like India with 1.25 billion people cannot have participatory democracy. In all the decisions of the government, all 1.25 billion people cannot participate. So what we have to do then? We can only ensure that the voices of all social groups, associations, organizations, all interests are properly represented in the government. That's all we can do. We can only ensure that much, that representatives of all parts of India, all castes and communities, all nations. So there must be representatives of North India, South India. Our parliament consists of representatives from all parts of the country. We have representatives from Punjab, from Bengal, from Northeast, from Kerala, from all parts of the country. We have representatives of all castes and communities, including minorities, including Anglo-Indians. We have some representation of Anglo-Indians also. We have urban, rural constituencies. We have representatives of farmers, peasants. We have representatives of industrialists. We have representatives of intellectuals. And our constitution also permits to represent the people of India through certain artists or renowned people of literature and films, etc. We have a representative democracy today. This is all, and I remember that in this context, some elite theorists said that unfortunately, a society is always governed by a handful of persons whom we can call elite. Elite are superior to others. There will never be any time when there will be complete equality of power between people. Always elite rule will remain. At best, what you can ensure is that there is a government of the people, and the government may work in the government may take up such policies and programs which are in the interest of the people. Welfare programs, irrigation, education, promotion of health, various types of rights, employment rights, food security. Government may arrive at policy decisions which go in the favor of the people. That means government for the people. Government can be government of the people, government can also be for the people, but government can never be of the people, by the people, for the people. It can never be by the people. It can only be of the people. It can be for the people, but never by the people. Because by the people means going back to participatory democracy of Lichavis or Shakya. The kind of democracy which was practiced in Buddha's kingdom. That is not possible. That is possible only in small city states or small areas. So we have to rely on representative. There is always a danger that the representatives of a caste or community or region may act in their own interests and not in the interest of the people. And that is what is happening today. That everyone who comes to power in the name of different interests, castes, community, regions, languages, ultimately becomes more interested in perpetuating his or her own financial, political, and social interests rather than interests of the nation. But there is no alternative. Even in socialist or communist society, there is no guarantee that the government will actually work in the interest of proletariats. In Russia, people have compared socialism of Russia. There are some sociologists, Aaron, and I don't want to drop names. Some sociologists have compared industrial society of Soviet Russia with the industrial society of America. And they find that the degree of economic inequality and the degree of political inequality, hierarchy in Soviet Russia was much higher than in the market economies like United States. So where did communists make mistake? That is one question on which there is again a lot of debate in sociology. But this is all we can expect, not more than this. Now on perspectives on power, I will just mention two perspectives. One, a functional perspective by Talcott Parsons, and another, the Marxist perspective. I am sure that by now you already understand the Marxist perspective. According to Marxist perspective, a society always consists of some classes. Some of them dominate, exploit, rule, oppress the other classes. Masters, slaves, feudal lords, serfs, journeymen, traders. So masters or nobles on one side, serfs, slaves, agricultural workers, peasants, small artisans, traders on the other. In industrial society, capitalists and proletariats. And the state always represents the interests of the powerful classes. So according to Marxist theory, power is determined by economic class or economic power. Political power is a function of economic power. And the political leaders or the government or the regime always represents the interest of the powerful people, that means affluent classes, economic. Power comes from economic relations, class relations, economic power. Always. You may sometimes find that some capitalists are fighting among themselves for power positions. Marxists will say, don't pay attention to that. Actually, if there is a political leader which is different from industrialists, that is always better for the economic class, because then the political leader runs the system in the generalized interests of the industrialists or economically powerful people. Marxists are more concerned with social structure, they are not concerned with individuals. So if we apply Marxist theory to say Indian state, then Indian state, the leaders of India, they may belong to BJP or Congress party or BSP or Samajwadi party. Ultimately, all leaders of ruling parties in India represent the interests of bourgeoisie or the industrialists or the capitalists. For Marxists, it is not important. This question is absurd whether they represent the interests of Reliance Industries more or the interests of Birlas more. The politicians, the political class of India works in the generalized interests of the industrialists or those who own industry, those who own means of production. Industrialists and feudal element. In rural areas, feudal elements who possess land, and in urban areas, industrialists who possess industry, means of production. So Marxist theory of power goes in this direction. And the implication of this theory is that there has to be a party, a group, which will work in the interests of the working classes. They are called socialists, and eventually when such parties become strong and there is a real consciousness among the people, the working classes and trade unions, then the capitalist system is destroyed and a socialist communist type of government is formed. Talcott Parsons, one functional sociologist, sometimes, though lightly only, I say that the only difference between functionalism and Marxism, if I write this in a sociology exam, I will get 0. I am saying this only for making the subject matter clear to you. If in sociological theory, you use class for society, you become a Marxist. You write the same answer. If you use the term society, you are a functionalist. If you use the term bourgeoisie, capitalist, or the dominant class, or simply the class, then you are a Marxist. So while for Marxists, the state exists to promote the interests of the bourgeoisie or the powerful classes, economically powerful classes of society, in functionalist perspective, like Talcott Parsons, state exists to promote the interests of the whole society. Obviously, those who are managing society, the government will always be functionalist. Looked at from this perspective, government of a socialist country will also be functionalist. They will say that state exists for promotion of interests of the whole society. So, our congressman will say that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and his party, his government, whatever they do, whatever policy decision they take, whatever plan documents they prepare and finally approve, they do so in the interest of the people of India. All those who claim that the government is functioning in the interests of the people or the larger society, they are functionalists, and those who say that government stands for the interests of the powerful economic classes, they are Marxists. Actually, this applies to all discussions. Sociology of state, sociology of education, sociology of family. If the word society is replaced by class, you become a Marxist. Otherwise, you are a functionalist. So, Talcott Parsons says that actually there is no zero sum or constant sum game of power. Power belongs to society, and the power of society can be increased or decreased. A state makes an attempt to increase the power of society, to make society more powerful. If the aims of Indian state are to raise per capita income of India, modernize defense forces, promote education, vocational education, higher education, create more integration in society, create more justice, have a secular view of society. Why? So that Indian society becomes more powerful and someday may be the most powerful society of the world. Congress party or any ruling party in India will say this, that they are using, and politicians are like our banks. Political power is equivalent to bank deposits. As we deposit money, our own money belongs to us. I have 2 lakh rupees. I go to State Bank of India, IIT Kanpur branch, deposit there, take a fixed deposit. That is my money. I can withdraw it anytime. So, likewise, in the political power, in the representatives, in political leaders, in state, it is my power, my money. People of India have vested their power in the state through their political representatives, so that the power of the collectivity, power of the entire nation, whole society can be increased. India becomes more powerful than Pakistan. if we have this view that the state of India, armed forces, elected representatives, bureaucracy of India, judiciary, they are working in the interest of promotion of power of India, then we take the position of Talcott Parsons. This is one view. Many of us often take this view. And if you take the view that the state of India is working in the interests of the affluent classes, or middle classes, upper middle classes, industrialists, then we have a Marxist view of power. I have not discussed everything of the chapter on state in Gisbert. Now you can read it. I am sure that all conceptual issues have been dealt with. Actually, I have given you much more than what is given in Gisbert, and reading of Gisbert should not be a difficult thing at all now. You don't have to remember names, just focus on ideas which are important in discussion of state. On state itself, we can have one semester course, but because we have to discuss everything of society, so I will not discuss state anymore. In the next class, I will talk about economic institutions. There is one question. Yes, please.
Sir, isn't Talcott Parsons' view a very naive and egalitarian view of the society, because it ignores all the conflicts and contradictions of the society, like class and economic?
One day I told you that in sociology can be done from several perspectives: managerial perspective, experts perspective, or sociologist perspective, and people's perspective. In all societies, the managerial perspective is going to be the functional perspective only. Hitler will not say that he is using power for any purpose other than promotion of the interests of the Aryan race. Mao will not say that Mao is using power. Stalin, they killed lakhs of comrades themselves. Lenin, Stalin killed more of comrades, not ordinary people, more of his party men, leftists only, those who worked with Stalin for a long time. Stalin killed lakhs of comrades or communists, and his claim was that he was doing, it is important to do so that the Russian society becomes world's most industrially advanced society, most powerful society. Stalin could justify his killings of his comrades by saying that they are competing with United States, with market economies, and it is their political, theoretical, and humanitarian duty to crush capitalism and promote the interests of socialism and communism. For this purpose, if for some time they have to kill some comrades, because these comrades are asking for revisionist policies, then it's justified. So, governments will always take a functionalist view, and therefore, whether in the name of Talcott Parsons or by some other name, this kind of idea will always remain. As long as there is government, there will be a view of Talcott Parsons type.
This thing is a given. Okay, the administration is supposed to do that. It is supposed to have political power to serve the interest of the society. But like you said, in a managerial viewpoint, so a manager is supposed to solve problems which may come between the serving the interest of the whole company. So what have they suggested to account for contradictions which, because this is a given, okay, they are supposed to do that.
So it's not unreal. This conflict is not unreal, and this situation will always remain. Like petroleum prices. Today a big Bharat Bandh is going on. From the perspective of Congress party, raising of petroleum prices is essential for developing the productive forces in the economy. For those in opposition, rise of petroleum prices simply shows serving the interest of petroleum companies and not Indian people. So there is a conflict, and conflict is as natural as cooperation. So in society, both cooperation and conflict will remain. So both kinds of viewpoints will remain. Thank you.